Hey guys, just in case it wasn't clear enough, this is a second part of a video in which I declare, a long video in which I declare my love for Genshin Impact. On the first part, in case you didn't catch it, it was more about me and my backstory with the game, all of the systems in it and my comments on it, some of my criticism, and more in-depth look, especially for people that have never played the game or never were too deep into it. This part's going to be more about all of the things I love about this game, and I'm going to try to be as objective as possible in a very subjective topic, so just bear that in mind. Also, this video is not going to be as long as you can see on the timecode, but you can now tell if you put both of the videos combined why I had to split them. Also, some things I wanted to clarify just in case they were not clear enough. I made this video before patch 1.4 and the Windbloom Festival came out, so that's why most of the things you're seeing is going to be around the Lantern Rite Festival in 1.3, if it was 1.3. I think it was 1.3, but anyways, I'm trying to get this video out before the next region after Liyue is released, so that's why you might see like a lot of things that are not in patch 1.4 and maybe even 1.5, because there's rumors at the moment that 1.6 or 7 or even 8 are gonna be where the next region comes up. So just heads up if there's things in this video that are out of time, like, you know, they're just not up to date, it's gonna be because of that. It's just the curse of commenting and talking about an MMO, not an MMO, an online game with constant updates. So just do bear in mind that while you watch this video. I didn't make it clear on part 1, so I just thought I'd talk a little bit about it on this one. I'm gonna do a little bit of an end card in here, but this is just gonna be more about all of the things I love about this game, so I hope you enjoy. Okay, so now I get to talk about all those wonderful little things that made me go absolutely head over heels for this game. First and foremost, how this game freaking looks. Just for everyone to know, I go absolutely crazy for cel shade games. I love how they look, I love how they animate, and whenever a game comes out with a style similar to this, it just immediately catches my attention. And when it comes to the art style of this particular game, in my humble opinion, it is one of the most charming and distinct looking settings I have seen in a while. Genshin Impact takes place entirely on the world of Teyvat, a massive fantasy world where elements coexist and legends are more alive and real than you might think at first. Teyvat is both incredibly simple and yet very deep at the same time. It is a fantasy land in which you will find many nations and kingdoms, which there are 7 main ones that were more than guaranteed to explore throughout the game's story. Each one of these regions is overseen by one of Teyvat's 7 archons, pretty much the gods of these lands. The 7 main nations or regions we will be exploring in Genshin Impact as of now are Mondstadt, the City of Freedom where they worship the Anemo Archon Barbatos, Liyue where the Geo-God of Contracts, Rex Lapis, reigns, Inazuma, which is overseen by the Electro Archon Daiden Shogun, Shishnaya, where the Cryon Archon Sarista rules, the nation of Sumeru overseen by the Dendro Archon, which we know nothing of yet, just as with Fontaine overseen by the Hydro Archon, and lastly Nachian, where we have heard very little about the Pyro Archon. Besides all of these places I mentioned, there are way many more nations and kingdoms and countries in these games, and that also holds true for deities and gods. But the ones I mentioned are what form the core of what is the setting and world building of Genshin Impact. So far, out of all the regions, we've only really seen Mondstadt and Liyue, with my favorite one being hands down the City of Freedom, Dandelions, and Bards of Mondstadt. This is the very first region of the game you get to explore, and it is heavily based on Germany. To me, this is a very refreshing take on the typical medieval town where you start your adventure, especially considering the type of style Genshin is going for, in which it will normally be more of a United Kingdom, England-esque, Old Britain type of town. The reigning Archon of Mondstadt, Lord Barbatos, also happens to be the Archon I currently pledge my loyalty to in this world. And yes, while I might be sounding like a massive geek at the moment, there's a very good reason for this. You see, like any good adventure game, especially one that could be technically classified as an isekai depending on who you ask, you are entering this world at a specific point in its history. Teyvat is a world filled with so many legends and rich history for anyone to discover, whether through the plethora of reading materials in-game that are scattered around the world, or through scenic storytelling, much like the game you took inspiration from. However, as you do advance through the story, not only will you be told such legends, but also, interestingly enough, you might get to experience them one way or another. Again, going back to Mondstadt for example, I know just from playing this game and not reading too much of the supplement material that it was once ruled by the god of storms, Dekarabia, and that he was overthrown by a nameless bard, a hero, and a small spirit. I also know that it has 4 secret guardians that are actually technically 3 because one of them holds like 2 titles, and that its main source of business lies in its rich bar culture, as wineries and such locales are what bring the most commerce to the city of Dandelions. What is so engaging about this game is how by simply playing it, you will be exposed to so much culture that you will be hard-pressed not to wish you could visit any of the towns you encounter in this game. Even things such as entertainment, religion, cuisine, and music plays a big part in this game. Take for example the character you're seeing on screen right now. Her name is Xingyan. She's from Liyue Harbor. She's an avid rock musician that utilizes her fire powers in order to enhance her musical expertise. However, rock is not a genre native to Liyue, as it comes from the nation of Fontaine, supposedly based in France, as it is known as the nation of beauty, art, and true elegance. Rock came to Liyue from Fontaine, where it inspired Xingyan, a Liyue native, to the point of she becoming the only prominent rock figure in her whole nation. To me, this level of world building and storytelling is so interesting that I simply cannot wait to see what a game as beautiful as this considers to be the epitome of elegance and beauty. And do bear in mind, besides a couple of characters, we really have seen nothing about how Fontaine is going to be as a region as of yet. Now, I do know most of the things I talk about are things that can be found in many other games such as RPGs or even MMORPGs. However, it is the fact that each nation holds so much culture that it is both alien enough to feel like a rich fantasy world, but also familiar enough so that we're able to connect to it. When you get down to it, Liyue is heavily inspiring China, and you can see why MiHoYo, being Chinese developers themselves, went all out in making this region one of the most fun and rewarding places to explore. Ask any fan of this game for the most beautiful place in the map according to them, and high chances are that that place will most likely be in Liyue, as its high peaks and breathtaking sights evoke a feeling of peace and serenity that, while I haven't felt ever since playing Breath of the Wild, was magnified tenfold by simply standing on a cliff, looking out at the distance, and letting myself be swayed by the beautiful soundtrack this game has, which you bet is what I'll be covering in the next section. One way I could try to explain why it is so much fun to explore in this game could be as such. Take for instance your favorite fantasy piece of media. Book, movie, manga, anime, whatever you may. You know that part in the story where the characters have to travel from one big city to another in order to move the plot along? And you either experience with them a long journey along many roads, forests, mountains, and landscapes as they battle and meet fellow travelers, discover and overcome obstacles, only for you to be rewarded at the end with the sights of an entirely new city for them to explore and dabble in their culture. Genshin, to me, feels exactly like that. It feels like my grand journey into a world that I'm so eager to see every corner of and experience as much of it as I can. After all, as said by my favorite character in the game, Traveler, as you set off on your journey once again, you must remember that the journey itself has meaning. The birds of Teyvat, the songs of the cities, all of the obstacles to overcome, they are all part of your journey. The destination is not everything. So before you reach the end, keep your eyes open. Use that chance to take in the world around you. To me, this game is not really about the pulls I missed, or the characters I didn't end up rolling for, nor all of the glitches or performance issues. It's not even really about the mindless grinding and repetition, but the excitement of discovering with each passing day what the world of Teyvat and all of its stars can offer me. It's about the days I've spent adventuring and beating monsters, about the culture of the land and its people, getting to know one way or another the wonderful characters MiHoYo has brought to life. To me, Genshin and Teyvat feel like something that is alive and growing with each passing day, and I simply cannot get enough of it. I can't help but to smile while remembering every single story beat that tug at the strings of my heart. About every time I laughed, cringed, was surprised, to even those quiet moments very popular amongst the players of this game. Those moments in which it's just me, my character on screen, and the gorgeous land unfolding in front of my eyes. If anything, my only complaint would be that I cannot wait another day to keep exploring this world even further, as I am shackled by the update release schedule in order to go to my next destination and keep my adventure going. I love Teyvat. and I think I will keep loving it for a very, very long time, as I actually see this game growing and evolving to the point when I see myself potentially crying my eyes out when I complete the story, and see myself forced to put this game away in the vault of masterpieces that inspire me throughout my life. But enough about ramblings of a passionate player. Back to talking about other aspects of this game that I feel deserve to be talked about. That will of course be the characters themselves and the addictive nature of the battle system. As I mentioned before, the characters in this game are as pivotal to the experience as the setting itself. You also get to know them from the entries in their story sections, ranging from who they are and how they got their visions, the small gems all of the characters have which grants them their elemental powers. Visions, which, by the way, are granted by the Archons when they recognize an individual from Teyvat. Going back to the topic at hand though, one more way to get to know the characters is through their own character quests, interestingly named story quests in this game. As of now, there are around 16 of these stories available, each one only really having their first acts, but there is no doubt that we will gradually be getting the rest of the cast as time goes by. These story quests tend to be a more in-depth look into each character, their backstory and their motivations for example, as well as what they're occupied with while they're not adventuring with you. They usually include a segment in which you're also able to get to use that character, serving also as a second type of tryout. However, it should be noted you do not unlock that specific character after their story quest. As of late, every time a new character is introduced, we get their first act of their story, although most of them you will need to unlock as you go since they require the special keys you have to grind for by doing dailies. This concept of story quest helps you familiarize yourself with the cast to the point of either making you want one character even more, or even change the way you see some of them. In my case, for example, I had a very different view of Mona thanks to her role on the Unreconciled Stars event to what she actually was, making me actually like her even more after completing her quest. Each member of the cast has so much personality and details in them that the more you play with them and find out about their stories, the more attached you will become to them. Even small things such as the changes in sounds when they walk or run, or whatever that was, to even their idle animations oozing with so much personality that it's impossible to get into this game and not have at least one favorite character. So once you get your party set, you will be ready to start busting some hill trolls and those annoying ass Satan spawns. Which once more takes us to the combat of this game. Yes, I already mentioned the elemental reaction system, but thanks to you being able to connect so much with each character in your party, makes it so even having them knocked out by a rookie mistake will leave you with enough anger that you will want to murderize everything on sight. It is such a rush managing your party when all of their stats are fully ascended, that it becomes a rhythmic game of tag with the symphony of elements resounding all over the battlefield. Setting up an elemental reaction with a certain character for maximum damage, playing it reckless because you know you're immortal as long as that lolly is on your team and she does this, are some of the instances in which combat truly becomes such a fun endeavor you will gladly partake during each mission. And with characters being constantly added into the game, makes it so that combat never really becomes stale. Repetitive? Yes. Boring and uninspired? Not so much. On the enemy side, they are given enough of a difference for you to carefully approach each encounter, that even with them just being a plain color swap, they are given enough of a difference for you to carefully approach each encounter. True, some, if not most of the enemies, require a very specific strategy in order to beat them, and once you nail down exactly what that is, they will honestly become a piece of cake. But don't get cocky, especially on the mains since they get a nasty buff in strength. There's just something, a certain high, if you may, about you managing to pull a chain of elemental reactions for high damage and see your enemies just being obliterated in front of your eyes by your mastery of this system. It just hits such a good spot for me. Now, following this, I think it's the right time to talk about my favorite aspect of Genshin Impact. The music, sound design, voice acting, simply how this game sounds is what I believe to be the strongest aspect of this game. Yes, even more than its amazing characters, fast and addictive, albeit repetitive combat mechanics, and even more than its engaging ass story. The sound department is the single-handed, most well-crafted and passion-filled thing this game has. There are just so many little details I adore about this game. Subtle changes you will most likely miss at first if you're not paying attention to the characters, environments and such. But if there's one thing I simply cannot compliment MiHoYo for more, is all the extra little things they do that add to this experience. Like how I mentioned before, hearing different things depending on what character you're using, which is based entirely on their designs, adds to the already vast levels of personality each character has to begin with. Even with the idle animations I've already talked about, like the sound of Xinyan and Venti playing their instruments. Chichi's adorable account whenever she's stretching. The little pop-up sound the travelers make when they bring forward that small constellation thing they do on their hand. All of those little sounds, again, bring so much personality to every single character in this game. However, on the flip side, what brings Teyvat alive to its fullest will have to be, hands down, the masterful composition that is this game's score. From day one, the one thing I noticed everyone universally agreeing with this game was its music and how utterly beautiful it is. If galloping in the wilderness at night in Breath of the Wild was something that I found myself getting lost to, all thanks to the incredible ambience tracks and sounds, simply standing anywhere in Teyvat tenfolds that very same feeling. Music changes drastically between the nations of Teyvat, giving you more of a defined feeling of where you are. For example, Mondstadt really feels like a place filled with adventure and thrills, with its more upbeat and fun soundtrack to get you in the mood to run around and explore, having great atmosphere tracks that add to every second you're out there exploring. Then you have that feeling of isolation in Dragonspine, which ironically is made into something downright soothing and beautiful. Not only helped by the fact that it came out during the end of the year, a time typically tied to cold winter in most of the world. I simply can't help myself to fall in love with this game all over again every time I hear the music in that damn mountain, while trying to keep warm any way I can. Taking in the desolated and gorgeous surrounding of that mythical mountain I find myself in, while just drifting away with those tunes in it. And then you have Liyue. Oh god, the soundtrack for Liyue. So, remember what I said about MiHoYo literally going all out on this region? You know, the one region heavily based on China? Well, it is the most clear to me that that was the case with the music they made for it. If Mondstadt is supposed to make you hype for the adventure at hand, and Dragonspine is made to evoke a certain feeling of serene isolation, if you may, Liyue is what I can only describe as beauty, mysticism, and zen. Traversing alongside the many cliffs and mountains of this gorgeous land is made an almost religious experience thanks to the many wonderful tracks accompanying the journey. I honestly cannot even begin to describe you how getting somewhere like Kingyun Peak, with its gorgeous floating garden overlooking Jaeyun Karst, listening to its theme song while it soothes away all of your earthly worries away, as you enjoy a quiet, peaceful time, which, who knows, might help you forget for a brief moment about all of your earthly worries. Traversing any part of Liyue is so addictive thanks to the way its sounds were composed that I'm honestly surprised it hasn't won any accolades or awards yet. And to top it all off, while the score of this game can be downright inspiring and emotional at moments, some of the best songs are reserved for those intense moments of action found all around this game. As well as having a very distinct soundtrack for each region with a very marked difference in style and instrumentations for its ambience music, the battle tracks for each region are a prime example on how to make the score add to the moment-to-moment gameplay. A small area like Dragonspine, being part of the Mondstadt region, only really has one track for the battles you will be facing along the way, going with the style and theme of the area I mentioned before. However, the main areas of Mondstadt and Liyue expand on this even further by having battle themes set for specific areas of the map. Some of my favorite examples will be and adding to this even further, there are also tracks for each story beat that also do a great job at adding to the scene, as well as some character themes, mostly reserved for trailers, but great nonetheless, with some of them being used sparingly here and there during certain character stories. Now lastly, before wrapping up this video with my final thoughts on the story and some closing words, I do want to clarify that while I don't intend to spoil any of the bosses in this game, as I do feel any story is best enjoyed when you go in as blind as possible, there is no way I'm talking about this game without tackling what is basically the crowning achievement of its core, being reserved for the best of the best, for the most epic moments in the story, the Trounce Domain bosses, or basically, the main bosses in the story, as well as a certain theme song for a certain part of the map, the latter being If you'll allow me a little anecdote, back when I started playing this game, me and my friends will come online to play together. I remember one of them reaching this point in the game and exclaiming out loud how he felt there was so much sadness and tragedy to this one piece. Once I reached this area, I was not only enamored with the song, but also had a different view on it. This song is supposed to symbolize sadness and loneliness, but I oddly found a twisted sense of nostalgic beauty and finality to it, as it makes me think of that feeling you get when you see an old photo of your childhood, of a more innocent time in your life and how happy you were back there, or at the very least, how much simpler things felt back then, while you revel in the sad realization that those times are long gone. At the same time, however, another part of you smiles and relishes those moments, as they are, in part, one of your biggest treasures. If you have already played this game up to this point, you know exactly when and where this song is from, and probably will agree that the sadness and tragedy of this entire area can also be seen oddly as beautiful, as you get lost each time you have to visit there. It is also one of those instances in which the music doesn't change even if you enter battle, almost as if those conflicts bear no weight or significance in the face of all the raw emotions, the memories this place brings. And while you do have songs as deep and jam-packed with emotion as A Storm, a Spire, and a Sanctum, you also have the aforementioned Trounce Domain bosses. And let me tell you, if any of the world battle themes I presented sounded to your liking, well... Boss battles in this game are an event in and of itself. They are a trial you have to face, with no option of running away whatsoever at first. You have to face many forces that are seemingly beyond your power and comprehension at first, as many of them are designed to trample you in any way they can. Getting to a Trounce boss fight is such a sight to behold, man, as things never go as expected with them, and their many theme songs do a great job at encapsulating that same feeling. All of the Trounce Domain boss tracks gave me goosebumps as their battles unfolded, but also made me fight harder in spite of all the odds, as they were the biggest, most varied and fun obstacles in this game. If there's any set of moments in this game I will categorize as hype, it is hands down all of these fights. For a collection of tracks you will need to hear constantly as you venture around this world, miHoYo really did a great job at making sure each track was filled with so much character and personality, just as with its locales and characters, which is especially true considering how the music on this game also doubles as the face of the world itself, showing many sides of this wonderful land I love to explore so much. And well, after all that, I guess I don't have much more to talk about besides the story and my feelings for this game. And seeing as how we refuse to spoil much about the story, we seem to be approaching the end of this saga, for now, at the very least. While the main story, the Archon quests, at first seems about a traveler trying to search for their siblings while also looking for clues of the nameless god that separated them. But in actuality, it's more about knowing this world and its lore deeper and deeper. As said by the character I mentioned previously, I firmly believe the main theme of this game is the journey itself, and not the destination. It's getting to know the world as much as possible that makes this experience such an entertaining one. See, I could sit here and analyze every little aspect of the story and how well the game develops them. But one, that's not really the point of this video, and two, this is a story that has barely just begun. While we already have the next area coming at some point during 2021 for what it seems, we barely know enough about all the key players and the things happening in the background, and what I can only assume are foreshadowings and setups for bigger things to come. However, if you go into this game simply hoping to get OP characters and go about your grinding, I do feel you will burn yourself out of this game rather quickly. Yes, at the moment it's pretty much the biggest part of the game. But that's only because, as of now, we find ourselves in a sort of deadlock with this game. Until a new area comes out, and subsequently the following areas as well, there will always be a point in which we'll be forced into doing a vicious circle of repetition and grinding no matter what. Waiting for events, in order to get some goodies and hopefully good side stories that expand on the world and characters. As well as rolling for new characters and weapons that get released. Grind for them, and very occasionally visiting a special domain called the Abyss in order to try to get sweet rewards. This, paired up with the unnecessarily restrictive resin system that we discussed before, makes Genshin Impact a game that starts out incredibly strong and entertaining, and sadly diminishes into a grinding extravaganza. But hear me out for a moment. This game, being the very peculiar amalgamation it is, combining aspects of mobile gacha games, MMORPGs, and action games, is one that will give you back as much as you decide to put on it. Yes, the game do wants you to spend money in order to get Primo Gems so you're able to get the most out of it. But it doesn't really force your hand into it. Waiting for a new region or story beat to drop is honestly insufferable. But during the wait for the wrap-up of Liyue's story, we had an entirely new part of Mondstadt released in the meantime. The Dragon Spine, which was filled with its own interesting lore and many characters. We've also had the Lantern Ride of Liyue and many other things to keep us entertained in the meantime while the new era rolls out. miHoYo is also clearly trying its best to make every new event have a fun new mechanic to play around with in order to keep the game engaging. See, I've heard so many people discard this game because of the resin system, because of how repetitive it becomes after concluding the story of Liyue, or because of it having to cater to mobile practices, ends up taking certain decisions a regular game of this kind will not normally take. But you could also see it as such. Genshin Impact is a game like no other. I've spent around half an hour talking about this free-to-download game filled to the brim with as much content and things to do as with its problems and restrictions. But I do believe we should not hold Genshin to the same light as other type of games, considering how much it gives you to work with on its base free version. Think, if you may, of any story or character-driven game that is free and does things to the level Genshin does. Hell, I even remember at first me and my friends saying how bad we felt not paying anything to these guys based on how much they were giving away. Look, I'm not defending the flaws of this game, as I see value in criticizing the things we love. I mean, this game's buggy as hell at times and it runs horrendously on the PS4. Co-op is honestly trash at the moment. It borrows too much at times from its source of inspiration. Even depending on who you ask, they're taking a bit too long in getting more content out, and at times it also feels like they're putting a band-aid on this game with events to avoid us from stop playing it altogether. Currently, grinding is very predominant near the end of the current content, only really mitigated by paying up either the battle pass or purchasing bundles. However, the feeling I got ever since I first saw that corridor underneath the night sky, while Aria of Dreams played and I started my adventure, chuckling at how much they copied from Breath of the Wild, only to then see this game for what it was trying to do and the identity it was shaping for itself. That feeling of being mesmerized by the sheer beauty of its world and its music, it has never wavered a single day. Yeah, even I have to take breaks from Genshin Impact every once in a while. There's times in which I feel burnt out and tired, but just when I start thinking I've seen everything, just when I thought I've had enough, I'll see a funny ass TikTok from the community and laugh like a dumbass. I'll search for a playlist and just vibe with the music while I work. And just when I least expect it, miHoYo will roll out a new character or event, and suddenly another layer of color is added to this game. And that's when I whisper to myself, I love this game. I do. I love Genshin Impact. And every time I'm reminded of all the things I love, I can't help but to smile and feel like I will probably never stop playing this game. It has issues, yeah, but again, I kinda love it because of its issues as well. So what now? Am I gonna tell you to play this game? Well, to be honest, it's up to you after seeing this video. This game still has a long way to go, and I am excited to see where this journey will take me, as I honestly can't wait to revisit this game on the channel, let's say a year from now, and talk about how much this game has changed, and hopefully improved. While I look back at this very video with nostalgia, a smile on my face, and with pride that I stuck with this game for so long. Genshin, I swear you're going to be the end of me. And to the developers at MiHoYo, if by any miracle any of you just so happens to see this video, thank you for making the single-handed most wonderful experience during the dark times we all went through in 2020. You have inspired me in so many ways, I cannot even begin to describe it. And, well, if you do decide to play this game, allow me to give you an advice born from the words that my favorite character said. Those very same words that stuck to my heart ever since. Don't worry about what others say, about who the best character or build is. Don't think too much about the gacha system if you don't want to, or even the resting system until you experience it. Heck, don't even let my criticism on the PS4 version to scare you if that's the only version you're able to get. Forge your own opinion. See this world with your own eyes, and forge your own ideas about it after you experience it. After all, it's not about where it will take you, but the journey you yourself end up taking. If that's not what adventure feels like, honestly, I do not know then what does. Hey everyone, you made it to the end of the video. Thank you so much. I know these end cards are supposed to like talk a little bit about the video and maybe plug some of your social medias, and I might not even do a good job at doing this. You might be able to hear a lot of my breathing and lip smacking and stuff, but I kind of want to keep these ones a bit more unedited so you have like a more fresh perspective on what do I sound when I'm unscripted, and for it to sound a little bit more honest and less prefabricated, you know? I just want to thank everyone who made it all the way over here in the video. It's been ages since I wanted to start venturing on YouTube, and I'm not gonna bore you with all the details on my tragic YouTuber backstory or whatever, not to throw shade on anyone else out there by any means. But it took me quite a while to do this video, and both videos actually, and it's been such a great journey. I'm gonna keep posting and I'm gonna keep uploading just because I really enjoyed it and I want to keep commenting on those things I love. And I do hope all of you at least managed to discover an aspect of the game you either didn't think too much about before or just didn't know or thought about entirely. Anyways, my socials are on the screen. I just want to thank everyone once more, and I do know I have a lot of things to work on, maybe on the editing side, definitely on the audio side. If you couldn't tell, I was figuring out things as I went. But yeah, let me know if you guys have any particular game or topic you guys want me to tackle. I'm pretty open. If anything, I hope you guys will keep coming back and enjoy. I'm not gonna tell you to subscribe, I'm not gonna tell you to like the video. If I deserve that, you guys will do it on your own accord. So if anything, I hope you enjoy your time. Once more, for the nth time, I hope you guys enjoy your time here. So thank you very much, and for now, this is just going to be our to be continued. See you guys next time.